Leads Gonzaga in steals. That's his 21st of the year. He's ever alert, very quick. 6'5" guard who is good on the defensive end, can handle, can shoot. Just a really complete player.
And that's what you call a mortal turnover by Wake that Jet Bezdelic talked about, immediately turning into points. Here's DeRozier's in the lane. Gray saves the ball to Dimitri Goodson. Goodson on his way, and we got a whistle and a blocking foul on Sacre away from the play. Actually, as Goodson had sped by.
One of the things they try to do at Gonzaga offensively is to free their guards. Sacre is really an awfully good screener. I'm not sure about that one.
Well, sometimes the principle of verticality and being perfectly straight comes into play. Easier to determine from the front side than the back side. We'll just leave it at that. 10-5, Gonzaga in the lead. Wake with the ball. Terrell, skip pass across the zone. Wake a good outside shooting team. They like to take outside shots. They have 5 players in double figures. Gonzaga now changes up, and they get out on the shooters pretty well. There's C.J. Harris with a penetration move.
Harris showing that he not only is just a three-point shooter, he can put the ball on the floor and get it to the rim.
They have determined that may be the only way he can score. Travel violation on Andy Olenek, who just came into the ball game to replace Robert Sacre. And Ty Walker comes into the game. That's the 15th foul, or the 14th foul, they say, on Gonzaga. Mackay comes out. Ty Walker, who's an excellent shot blocker, comes in.
Steve, interesting to this point, Gonzaga's turned it over 5 times. Wake Forest 3.
Here's Harris with the drive. And here's Walker with the putback. Nope. Let's keep an eye on number 40. Walker, an excellent, he's one of the top shot blockers in the country. Challenge at that time did not go up. It's up after Olenek, and now we have a whistle and a foul in the lane on Wake Forest.
Here we go.
It's going to be charged. It's going to be charged to Melvin Tabb. Now, Tabb took about a month off to take care of some academic issues, was reinstated to the team last week, or 2 weeks ago. And here's Andy Olenek, another Canadian product from Kamloops, British Columbia.
I'll surprise you a little bit, tell you I've been there.
That is a surprise.
And the Canadian Rockies, beautiful little town stuck up there. Young man is quite the player. He played a lot of international ball this past summer, as a number of these Gonzaga players have done in the past. I really think that helps them. It helps them because they get so many kids. I mean, you got 5 international players on this squad, and all 5 of them have participated in international play.
Yeah, it's quality competition at a time when they probably would be down a little bit. Harry Stewart into the corner here. C.J. Harris. You have 2 players who played for Canada and 1 for Germany in the FIBA games in Turkey this summer. Out front, there's J.T. Terrell. He is fouled by Stephen Gray. That's Stephen Gray's second foul.
That's something you wouldn't expect a senior to commit, is the foul beyond that three-point line, and now 3 shots coming up. You like that. J.T. Terrell says, I'll take that all day long. Watch him right here with a nice maneuver to the right side, and you can see Gray just getting on the elbow. One of the reasons why that ball came up short.
Terrell out of Burlington, North Carolina, went to school at West Charlotte High School. And one of the state's top basketball players. Averaging 13.5 points a game, mostly off the bench. He's up here for 3.
I got to tell you, Steve, Mackay and Terrell may be the key to this Wake Forest team's future. I mean, these are 2 really outstanding freshmen that are their 2 leading scorers, at least to this point in the season.
And then you add Chenault to that when he gets healthy, and then you've got you've got 2 good wing scorers. That's not a problem with Wake. Wing scoring, not a problem. They've got C.J. Harris, they've got Harry Stewart, and these 2 guys. You need somebody who can orchestrate how to get it to them consistently. C.J.'s doing as good a job as he can.
Wake Forest back into his own defense again. They're matching up out of this.
Olenek flows through, tries to get it inside. That's Sam Dower. Dower's a redshirt freshman from Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. He gets fouled as he went in. He only played 11 minutes, Larry, against Oklahoma State, but had 8 rebounds.
Jeff Buzdelic was telling me yesterday at practice, he says, look, we're going to experiment with a matchup zone. They did a little bit against Richmond, and he said today that they were going to play a lot more of it. He said he just feels like that defensively they need to do that with the group that they have.
Foul by Wake's Melvin Tabb. Here's Dimitri Goodson with the handles. 1-point game here, and we are 8 minutes in. Rock. This is Marquise Carter, who's in the ballgame now for Gonzaga. Goodson tries the 2 and hits.
Guy not known for his outside shooting, sticks one in the mid-range level.
He scored 8 points a game the last 4 games. Inside, nice move by Ari Stewart. Wake Forest getting some damage in paint.
You know, it's a good point. I was going to say the same thing. They're getting a lot of these shots and a lot of looks from about 8 feet and in against Gonzaga's defense.
Rock gets around Stewart. Goodson tries to penetrate and forces a foul against Wake Forest, and it's going to be against JT Terrell. We've got a timeout to sort it all out with 11:27 left in the first half, and Gonzaga leading Wake by 1.
Wake Forest turns the ball over in unforced situations. Well, much to their detriment, they don't have a true point guard out there on the court. CJ is filling in. I talked to Coach Bizdelic about it. He said he's doing a wonderful job, but he's never played point guard before. They're missing Tony Chenault, this young man who they recruited to run their team. He said when he gets ready, they're going to throw him just out in the fire so he can get going. Here's how his rehab is going, guys. He started 4 days ago, and they're hoping to have him back earlier than expected later this month.
Wake Forest forcing Gonzaga to go way back and backward to get that one, but Dimitri Goodson pays it off and puts the Zags up here by 3.
I think the Demon Deacons forgot about Goodson moving down the lane. How about that shot?
Ari Stewart fills it up for 2, 15-14.
You know, Stewart's been pretty consistent this year. He has been in double figures in 11 of the 13 games they've played so far.
Wake Forest has, as we said, 5 double-figure point men. Scoring's not a problem. There's a travel call on Marquise Carter, and I believe that's turnover number 6 for Gonzaga. Mark Few doesn't like the way his team is open. They've had problems, Larry, opening up games. I watched their game the other night with Oklahoma State. They shot 19%. And then all of a sudden, when they caught fire, you look out because they can get ahead of you in a hurry.
Well, he's got good depth. I mean, he's got about 9 guys that can play. Speaking of 9, both teams have played 9 players already so far in this game.
Nobody's in any really serious foul trouble except Stephen Gray, who's got 2. Nikita Mashirikov is in the ballgame for Wake. He's been in a few minutes. Ari Stewart, 7 on the shot clock. And Mashirikov tries to get by Sacre, and Sacre knocks the ball out of bounds. 4 on the shot clock when they inbound.
Pretty tough to get around Sacre on the baseline like that. Mashirikov transferred from Georgetown. Only played 5 games so far.
Good there pass. He is. Gets the good inbounds. First lead of the game for Wake Forest, 16-15.
I think that's the first out-of-bounds play I've seen work under a basket in about 17 years.
Wake now scored in their last 4 possessions. Goodson from the corner. Rebound to Wake Forest. Here comes Terrell. Clark waits for the defender to fly by and puts it in.
What a great shooting year Gary Clark is having.
Shooting's not a problem with the Demon Deacons, and they're proving it right now. Let's take a look at that inbounds play there.
Yeah, terrific play. Mashirikov made himself available right there, and a nice pass again by Dimitri Goodson to get it to him in the right position. And then coming right back, watch the corner. Ball fake, step back. Gary Clark nails the mid-range jumper, and Wake Forest tuning up their offense.
Up by 3, and that causes Mark Few to call a timeout. His Bulldogs were down 17-11 to probably one of the ruggedest rebounding teams in the country, Oklahoma State.
Steve, I want to go back to a point that you made earlier, and you're absolutely right. This Wake Forest team is really a good shooting club. I mean, they're shooting 46% on the year, which is in the upper half of the ACC. But their three-point shooting is second only to Duke within the league. I mean, they came in shooting 42%. This is a very good shooting club. What's been killing them, and we absolutely demonstrated at the top of the show, has been their turnovers and those second chance points on offensive rebounds by their opponents. If they can correct that, they can move forward.
Well, they've quieted the turnovers down, and they've done a decent job on the defensive glass. Into the ballgame now is David Stockton. Stockton's a great name in Gonzaga history. John Stockton, his father.
Looks exactly like him in the face.
He hit a three-point shot at the buzzer at the end of the first half Friday against Oklahoma State. This is Elias Harris, who's had a quiet game, and he turns it over inside.
Turnover number 7 for Gonzaga.
Harris had 22 points in the win over Oklahoma State. He's trying to offset a shoulder and an Achilles injury.
This is a young man that averaged 15 points and 7 rebounds as a freshman last year.
Sherikoff. Clark gets rid of the screen. Now goes to Terrell and a foul coming up.
Hand check by Goodson out there. You know, I was watching Gary Clark over there if he was going to use that screen or not, and they didn't. And they just pushed the screen down the lane on the slash, and he made the pass across, and the hand check will give the ball back to Wake Forest.
Goodson comes out. Stephen Gray comes in. And even despite 2 fouls, Mark Few feels he needs some scoring out there. Up to the top. Terrell gets an opening. Rebound comes to Harris. Stockton ahead to Gray. Sacre in the middle, and he'll get fouled. I did catch up with Ray Giacoletti too, and we talked about David Stockton and how the ball seemed to move a little better when he got into the ball game in the Oklahoma State game.
Now, folks, when I tell you he's slight, they measure him at 5'11", and they've got his weight at 152 pounds. But I'm going to tell you, within that body, he has the genes. If he has the ones that his father has, he's going to be around for a long time.
19-year NBA career.
Now in the Hall of Fame.
Yep. And still the assist and steal leader in the league. And there's his son. Robert Sacre is on the line. And with more on David Stockton, let's bring in Stephanie Reddy.
Well, guys, I spoke with him about his father and said, you know, what kinds of things have you learned from him? He said, you remember how crafty he was? And we use the word crafty loosely when speaking of John Stockton. I said, yes, of course I do. He said, I learned how to do those moves, not because he taught me, but because he used them on me. He figures if he can do it and be successful in the NBA at his size, then I probably have a chance here too.
JT Terrell gets fouled as he goes through the lane. I've been impressed, Larry, with how Wake Forest has, despite the fact that they are a good outside shooting team, they haven't forgotten where the center of the court is and where the easy points and the fouls are.
Yeah. Jeff Buzdelic is going to be awfully pleased with the way his club has played in this first half. With only 3 turnovers to this point, they have shot the ball well. They've moved it well. I think defensively they've caused problems for Gonzaga. I mean, they've turned it over 7 times, and some of those have been really forced. Good defensive pressure by Wake Forest.
Held Sacre down somewhat, although he has 6. Pair of free throws there, makes it a 3-point game again with 8.5 to go here in the first half. Stockton, all alone or off? No. Walker with the rebound. Clark to the corner for 3. No. You can hear the crowd take a breath whenever he takes one. Into the paint. That is Elias Harris. A romp back to Harris on the baseline.
There's that 2-3 matchup again by Wake Forest.
I get a whistle and a foul. I think it's going to be on, yes, it's on Sacre, and that is 2. They say he cleared out with the arm on Sherikoff to get that ball. Timeout on the court, 7:51 to go. Wake Forest up by 3. .17 count. It's time for our Touch of Gray game summary. And I know where Larry's going on this one. It's the turnover.
Absolutely. 3 by Wake Forest to this point. That's one of the reasons why they have that 3-point advantage against Gonzaga. Field goal shooting Gonzaga, shooting the ball a little bit better than Wake Forest. Points in the paint in favor of the Zags right now. Suckeray with 5 points and 4 rebounds at least to this